wait for it to buffer.
Yeah. This episode of the Community Workbench podcast is sponsored by yours truly, Matt Norn of Remax Bell Park. For all of your real estate needs, call me 860-428-6534. Your dreams are my job. Welcome to the Community Workbench. This is Matt Norn and Kyle Morrissey's fill-in, John Jenna from JG Creations. We are your hosts of the #1 podcast in my basement. At the bench, we try to repair the sense of community. So every week, we bring you small businesses, entrepreneurs, community leaders, charities, and pretty much whoever we feel like talking to. And today, we feel like talking to Jeff Goodnow, owner-operator of Fully Stoked Coffee. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Matt.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
you got some big stuff going on, huh?
I've been busy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So your coffee business is basically an order online coffee roasting business.
Yeah.
You can get it at www.fscroasters.com, and you can order it and then pick it up at your place.
Yep. Correct. Yep. So, I mean, we're predominantly e-commerce, right? So, place the order on the website. We ship all over the country. We actually ship a crazy amount of coffee out to the West Coast.
Nice.
But, you know, for local people, we do local pickup at the Roastery, at our place in Sterling, Saturday mornings, 9 to 11. And, you know, that way you can, if you're local, you save on shipping. And basically you come out. I use that time to get some tasks done in the Roastery. I always have coffee going, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that 2-hour window. I don't know what time people are showing up. So I'm there, I'm drinking coffee, stop in, say hello.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's like in a barn, right? Or is it
yeah, it started out life as a shed.
Okay.
So it's, you know, I mean, we bought like a kind of prefab 10 by 14 shed.
Oh, nice.
And then proceeded to spend a year and way too much money building it into a tiny house.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's full on, you know, it's fully insulated, it's climate controlled, it's, you know,
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's where the roaster is in there. All the packaging is in there.
Yeah.
Given space limitations, we have a semi-finished basement in our house. And when we bought that property, when we bought the house, there were a couple rooms in the basement, one of which was basically a workout room, office type area.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's a nice room, like it's a fully finished room. So we took that and we put some racks in there and built like an inventory system, and
gotcha.
You know, so that kind of became like the coffee warehouse, so to speak, you know.
Yeah.
So
when you said climate controlled, that reminded me when I had ordered your coffee earlier this summer. I was at June Norcross with the Boy Scouts.
Yep.
And we were grinding it on site and French pressing it.
Yep.
And
wait a minute. You went and did this one. I wasn't with you guys.
Hey, man. Yeah, we were having good coffee in the morning, but
kill me.
The humidity, because this was July. This was second to last week of July. It was coming out weak for some reason.
Interesting.
So with the French roast, French press rather, we were steeping it for 10 to 15 minutes, which is usually enough in your house. But it was so humid out that we didn't account for the humidity. So I looked it up online, and it said you have to, you can make the grind a little bit smaller and or let it steep longer if you're in a high humid area.
Yeah.
And problem solved. You know, we were doing a full 20-minute steep, and
that seems
it was
excessively long.
Well, I mean, we didn't care. We just wanted the good coffee because we knew it was good. We knew it was coming from you. So we're like, this is weak, and we're like wondering why. But it was so humid in the morning.
So typically, like French press wise, so obviously coarse grind, right?
Yeah.
To your point,
Yep.
If you want it a little stronger, depending on what the screen looks like in your French press, you can go with a finer grind.
Yeah.
That's
Mine, you can go pretty fine.
Okay.
And we did go a couple of clicks on the hand grinder.
Yep.
When we were having the issue. So.
But one of the reasons why you typically, for things like French press or like cold brew, whatever, you're using a coarse grind, is because of extraction time, right? So it holds up to the extraction time a bit better. It doesn't extract all the tannins, which in turn brings out bitterness. But even at that, typically a French press is only like 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm way off.
I always
Yeah,
I always set my timer here on the stove for 10
Yep.
minutes when I do it in the morning.
So you'll probably have a much smoother cup of coffee, less bitterness, if you put your grinds in. So temperature makes a big difference as well, right? 200 degrees.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
once you breach 200, that also starts to bring out tannins.
Okay.
So around 200 degrees, put your grinds in, just wet the grinds, and then give them, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute to go through what's called a blooming process, and that's going to open up your coffee grinds, and then fill it the rest of the way. Give it 4 minutes. Press, drink, enjoy.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. I'll definitely try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pouring it all the way. I have the tea kettle, makes the water, and on my tea kettle, I've tried it a few times where once it whistles, you turn the gas off, take it off the heat, and open the lid.
Okay.
And about 2 minutes into that, it's back down to 200 degrees. And I literally just have that on a time, basically timing it
Sure.
to not burn the coffee essentially.
Yep.
And then I was just timing it out, steeping for 10 minutes, press and go.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'd say
I'll definitely try your.
give it a try.
method for
I
sure.
mean, you also, depending on how coarse you're grinding it, that the coarser the grind, the longer it can steep before it starts to affect the flavor profile.
Gotcha.
But yeah, 10 minutes is pretty long.
Yeah.
even with a super coarse grind. That's
I'm
pretty
kind of with you, Matt. I do it the same way where I take mine off and I'll let it sit on a counter for a minute, and I do a coarse grind, and I would let mine sit for like 8 or 9 minutes.
Yeah. Try it.
But I guess I grew up drinking marine coffee, where it's like jet fuel.
Go with like maybe a little finer grind.
But also the blooming thing. I've never done that.
Yeah,
I like
it makes
that
a big
idea.
difference, right? So it
Right.
literally opens up the grinds, and it gives the coffee itself
Yeah.
a chance to kind of acclimate temperature wise,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, right? But opening up all the pores in the grind is going to give you a much more flavorful, a much more aromatic cup of coffee.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that now.
Yeah, for sure.
I have tried the bloom thing with I read that one when I was first learning how to do French press, and I read that hey, you just kind of drizzle it over, just wet it, let it sit for like 2 minutes, and then pour your the rest of your the rest of your regular water over, and then let that sit. And I've had some pretty good cups of coffee, but I'm not a roaster. I'm not a professional coffee drinker. I'm a good coffee drinker. That's what I am.
Yeah, right on. man.
I like good coffee,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to make good coffee.
Yeah, as a brewer, I appreciate you slipping in the strike water there.
That's funny. Today or right now, we're drinking your Peruvian espresso roast. And this is the first time I've ever actually had it from a drip process.
Yep.
But usually I'm drinking this with my new espresso machine.
Yeah, hell yeah.
in love.
Rub it in.
And your other one that I have to hold myself from having, espresso 3 and 4 per day because of your Peruvian Italian roast.
Oh, the
no,
Guatemalan.
Guatemalan Italian
Yeah.
roast. It is so smooth and chocolatey. It's just like it's just
Yeah, I feel like all of our dark roasts, right? So we do 2 different espressos. We do the Peruvian bean, we do a Mexican bean, and then we have 2 different French roasts as well, Colombian and Brazilian, and then the Guatemalan we've been doing as Italian roast, and that's a very, very nice bean. So those beans come from I think it's the West Highlands of Guatemala,
Wow.
which is like the northwest corner, I guess. Um, think about like how Guatemala is, right? It's got like a little piece that sticks up, and then it kind of levels out, and like Chiapas, Mexico is here. So it's like over in that region. It's a very mountainous
Okay.
rainforest region
Oh wow.
of Guatemala.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think like my geography. I'm like
Yeah.
Mexico, Belize,
I'm lost.
Guatemala.
You're outside of Windham County, so
Man,
Matt's lost.
I'm like, damn, it's too easy to just look at a map, Had to use my brain.
Right. That's awesome. The other thing that your coffee roastery, right? Fully Stoked Coffee. You guys were voted runner up best coffee in the state.
Yeah, best coffee roaster in the state of Connecticut.
And you didn't even
Second
know
place.
you were in the competition.
Had no idea. had zero idea. So, I mean, to go back, right? Like I said, like Fully Stoked it's a tiny company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's me and my wife. I typically deal with all the production side of it. She deals with the business side and the website, and that she takes care of like shipping and packaging and all of that. But it's a 2-person operation. No storefront.
Yeah.
We've done zero marketing, social media, I guess. We have grown a lot in the past 2 years. We do farmers markets and that type of stuff. We've noticed that the orders coming in are, I feel like every month the orders go up. Farmers markets, we actually have regulars now. So, we've definitely seen an influx in business for sure.
Nice.
But still, I mean, it's not like you can just go to our store.
Right.
Right. You got to kind of know we exist to know we exist.
Yeah.
So, I get an email one day from a guy named Dan Goldsmith at CT Insider, and he wants to set up a phone call with me to discuss our nomination for Best of Connecticut. Like, So I give him a call, and he's like acting like I knew all about this, and he's explaining all this stuff. I'm like, well, first of all, I guess I don't quite understand. Like, I didn't even know we were nominated. And he's like, oh my God. All right. Well, in order to apparently get nominated, you need at least 10 people or something that write your name in. Right.
Wow.
So he's like, so at least 10 people thought you were worthy. All right. That's cool. Right. So we go into like the finals or whatever. And it's, if I remember correctly, I think it's open for like a month of voting or whatever.
Yeah.
So the end of the month comes around, and I get another email from this guy, and he's like, congratulations, you're a finalist, and apparently that means you're in the top 3.
That's awesome.
So
That is awesome.
there's like 80 coffee roasters in the state of Connecticut.
Wow.
I think there were 30 finalists or 30 people in the
Nominated.
Yeah. That, so anybody can be nominated, but then there's kind of a screening process, and then they take the top 30, right? So he's like, let's get back on a call. All right. So now I'm thinking like, whoa, if I'm a finalist, we're in top 3, right? So I come to find out, he says, yeah, you're the runner up. I'm like, okay, so
That's outstanding.
we
That's awesome.
I mean, with the winner and then ourselves included, we beat out 28 other coffee roasters in the state and didn't even know it was happening.
That's awesome.
So, to his point, I guess, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot more people than our friends that are voting for us, right? So there's a lot of people out there drinking our coffee, and it's been awesome. It's been just an incredible experience all around. And I've met some really wonderful people through it. So
yeah,
yeah.
That's pretty cool. And this isn't, forgive me, but it's not your main gig, right?
Um,
You're like a consultant
yeah, yeah,
for
correct. It's,
breweries.
I mean, it's becoming more of a main gig, I guess.
Okay.
So yes, I have worked in the brewing industry since 2006. Um, to I would say to date myself, but I know you're right around the same age as me.
Yeah, I am.
So John and I were talking about home brewing a little bit. What I didn't mention was right. So I started home brewing in '95,
Oh, okay.
um, and that that quickly led to just I was obsessed with beer for a long time. And then it kind of faded out, and I didn't really focus on it a whole lot. And then in 2006, I was out in Western New York, found myself, I was living out in the Rochester area, and had the opportunity to go work at a small brewery out in Rochester, in Honeyway Falls, so just south of Rochester. And yeah, quit my full time, my day job, and started making beer, and never looked back. Um, so then, fast forward however many years, I brewed all over the place. Um, in 2017, I started a brewery consulting business, and yeah, there again. I mean, I think last year I had over 30. I think I've worked with over 30 breweries, and then I've done 4 builds from the ground up. So 4 full builds, one of which was for myself. Stayed at that brewery for like a year and a half. Eventually started that's when I started home roasting coffee, and I realized very quickly that I can't just have a hobby, evidently, because home coffee roasting basically became what home brewing was. A year and a half later, I was selling my shares in my brewery to build fully stoked coffee.
Wow.
Now, when you got into brewing, because like you said, I do home brewing as well, so we were kind of chatting about that offline. Did you go do any professional training? Did you go to like any brewmaster type schooling?
No.
Or you just homegrown, self-taught,
Yeah.
the whole shebang?
Yeah, so back then there was definitely a hierarchy within the industry. Um, I mean, the industry is a weird place today, but up until just a couple of years ago, the brewing industry had become uh, basically anyone with a little bit of knowledge and some money in the bank could start a brewery,
Oh, okay.
right? And that's that. It happened, right? I mean, you think about how many small breweries popped up in the last 15 years.
For
But
sure.
when I got into brewing, there was still very much a hierarchy within the industry where somebody without experience didn't just walk in and say, "Oh, I'm going to open a brewery," or "I'm going to walk in and be a head brewer."
Right.
Right? So
You had
it's
to
like,
earn your bones.
you did absolutely. And in fact, the first like 3 months that I worked at this brewery, I did it unpaid.
Wow.
So, and then I happened to it happened to work out pretty well where one of the brewers ended up leaving to go to another brewery, and a brewing position opened up. So that's when I actually I left the job that I was my quote unquote full time day job.
Yep.
I left that to go brew full time, and yeah, then January 1st of 2007, I started getting a paycheck. So, um, and I started. I was working on the bottling line, cleaning kegs, filling kegs, whatever.
Good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The fun
But
stuff.
it's like it later on in life, though. I mean, like I said, now I own and operate a very successful consulting business.
That's
because
awesome.
I've literally done every single part of the brewing industry. I have a lot of science background. So between, the actual knowledge of brewing beer, artistic mind, and then with having science knowledge, here I am 20 years later. It all kind of filled in, and I'm so thankful for the fact that I had to do everything.
Is
Yeah.
is there a lot of chemistry involved, or is it more of like a culinary art?
It's
Like,
I mean it's 50-50, right?
is it okay?
It's
Makes sense.
yeah, it's a ton of chemistry. That's what beer is, right? It's fermentation, it's science.
Okay.
but at the same time, like there are those brewers out there who are very calculated and very much just science nerds. But I feel like, much like in the culinary world, you know, it's like to be a great chef, you have to have some kind of creativity, right? You have to have some kind of imagination.
Yeah.
And I think the best brewers know how to blend the art of making beer with the chemistry or the science aspect of making good, clean beer, right? Because there again, it's, you know, it is a fermented product and things can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Bacteria is a big deal in beer.
For sure.
So
Sure. Wow.
that's, yeah, it's an equal blend in my opinion.
Yeah.
I find that it's, you know, coming from a background where I love cooking. When I got into beer brewing, is because a buddy of mine's like, "Hey, John, come over to the house and brew some beer with me." And I'm like, "All right, man, this sounds like it'll be kind of fun." And I hung out and I kind of watched. I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." And then once I got past the getting scared and realizing that it's just like cooking. So I got past I
Sure.
got past the extract kit where it was just basically like I always equivalent to making macaroni and cheese. You can't screw it up. Extract kit, you can't screw it up.
Well,
And then
you can.
okay, so and then I went to
I can do it.
the
I
next
promise.
level. I think the next level was they gave you like a sock of grain to steep, and then I was at that for like maybe a month, and then I'm like, there's got to be more to this. And then I started playing with grain. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna just buy like a 50-pound sack of 2-row, and I'm gonna buy some of this and some of that. And I started making my own recipes, and then I started playing with hops, and
Yep.
it's a rabbit hole. But then you just get into it, and you're like, "Ooh, I really like this. I really like that.
Right.
Let's go ahead and mix these two things." And it kind of becomes like cooking because my wife gets mad at me all the time. I'll make something, and she's like, "Hey, make that again," and it's never the same because I don't use recipes. I cook by taste and smell,
Right. So
and I do the same thing with beer sometimes.
right. So that's that the creative art side, right? But in order to have a viable business and to be able to create a repeatable product,
Yeah, you have to document.
I mean, not only do you have to keep, you know, keep good notes and follow a recipe, but you then have to understand how, you know, how your yeast propagates, how, you know, different things are going to affect your flavor profiles, the efficiencies of your mash, the efficiencies of, you know, your brew house, hop efficiencies, right? You have to understand all of that stuff and how it interacts with like fermentation,
Yep.
right? Because all of that does, it plays a role. So, you know,
It's pretty fun, Matt. You ought to come over sometime.
Yeah, I'm super intrigued. I definitely would love to be a fly on the wall when you're brewing. The other thing now, there's a lot of beers now coming out that are barrel aged. Is that
I mean, there,
will that take on the same? So like with bourbon, you can literally get one from a corner of the warehouse where they're stored, and that'll taste different than the other corner, and then the
Right.
center is like kind of like the more consistent of
Sure.
barrels because it's not getting that south side of it versus the north side of it and that type of stuff. Is that like is beer that sensitive as well?
I mean, it's not quite that sensitive, right? Because with like with bourbon, you got to figure that they're in barrels for a very long time. Those barrels breathe.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah.
They that's what the bourbon is picking up is the char on the inside of the barrel,
Yeah.
right? But there's also like a certain terroir of each barrel. And
Yeah.
to your point, depending on where it is sitting in a warehouse, I mean, you have more airflow, you have more temperature fluctuation, whatever,
Yeah.
right? Beer, um, so barrel aged beer has been around a long time. Typically, with a barrel aged beer, you want to use something like a higher alcohol beer, and
Okay.
a lot of that just comes down to sanitation reasons, right? So alcohol beats plague,
Okay.
right? And you know, with
That sounds like a rock paper scissors thing.
pretty much.
I like that.
Alcohol
beats
beats
plague.
Pretty much. Yeah, so I mean that's why like with liquors you don't really have to worry about what's in a barrel, but when you put a beer into a barrel, that barrel is very porous and it has a lot of places that bacteria can live,
Mhm.
right? So some people steam the barrels ahead of time to kill off any bacteria that might be in there. Certain things like there are certain like wild bacterial strains, wild yeast strains, lactobacillus, pediococcus, stuff like that that can survive in the wood even if you steam it. It can
Yep.
be in there.
Yeah.
And that'll definitely ruin your day, ruin your
Yeah.
beer.
Well, even like cork in the top of a wine bottle, there was like a certain percentage that would ruin a bottle because the
Yeah.
cork would have some sort of wood-borne disease or whatever
Yeah.
in the cork.
Yeah, corks could mold too. That was the other thing. It's a lot of times that's why wine was stored on side was not only to keep the cork swollen, but also as long as it was submerged under the liquid, zero oxygen environment, it couldn't mold.
Right.
Right.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah,
And there's nothing worse than picking up a bacteria because I remember the first time I had made my first chocolate stout, and I was so excited because it's a long process. Go through your regular fermentation, and then you soak it. You put cocoa nibs in there, and I didn't know. I've never had to do an addition other than hops. Well, I didn't know about soaking my cocoa nibs. I just dumped them right in. And then, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, as it's aging and I'm waiting to put it back then, I don't even know if I was kegging yet. I might have still been bottling. I saw this weird stringy stuff come across the top, and I was like, I called my buddy. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I was just getting ready to bottle this. He goes, did you ever soak your nibs in like alcohol or anything? And I'm like, no, am I supposed to? I just assumed that they're packaged from the company. They should be fine. He goes,
yeah,
you just lost it. He goes,
Yeah.
you can try it. And it was very astringent. It tasted, I always say
Yeah.
it's medicinal alcohol. It tastes like if you drank, if you can imagine it would be like drinking isopropyl alcohol, that's that smell. So I dumped it. I learned the next time I did it, I soaked them in vanilla vodka. And I soaked them in vanilla vodka for like 3 weeks.
no, it's good.
And
It's
it
good. You made
came
a
out
tincture.
so good. It
Yeah.
was like wicked awesome.
Does that add to the flavor as well?
I think it did. I think it gave that chocolate stout an extra little,
Hint.
and I didn't drain off the vodka. I'm not gonna lie. I took that mason jar just
Yep.
like we're drinking out of here. I had my cocoa nibs in there with probably, I don't know, half a cup, 3/4 of a cup of vodka.
Oh, it's it.
I dumped that whole thing in my secondary, and I let it sit for another whatever it was, 2 months, and I think it kicked it up just a little bit more. It had a little bit of a higher ABV, obviously, because that little bit of extra vodka, it pushed it a couple points. But man, it was tasty. It was, and I got to make another chocolate stout because I haven't made one in years.
And that's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean that is actually the correct way to do that. So I mean, you made a tincture, right? And then what a lot of people would actually strain it out, like
When you say tincture, is that like like a process? Is that a
yeah. So he took the cocoa nibs, and he extracted the flavor and the aroma from the cocoa nibs into the alcohol,
oh, okay?
right? I mean, you can do it with anything, herbs, whatever.
Oh,
You know,
okay. Yeah.
you can literally use, I mean, basically just like pure grain alcohol works great. Vodka.
Pulls it.
So
out.
something. So I mean, for what you did, what you were making, the vanilla, I'm sure added to it, and it was delicious. If you want to make just a straight tincture, you just use like vodka, something without a flavor profile to it.
Right, right, right.
It just extracts whatever you're soaking in it.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, I mean, typically what would happen at that point is you would just filter it, like send it through a strainer or some cheesecloth or something, end up with just the tincture and add that to your liquid to the beer.
I gotcha.
You need a new hobby.
yeah, that's
It's-
what I need.
And let me
Another
tell
one.
you, it is not a cheap hobby because you will go from. I don't know how you started, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, you probably started in a similar fashion where you start with a small pan
Oh yeah,
and you're doing it on your kitchen and my wife was like, "Oh my god, the kitchen reeks." And then eventually I moved out into the garage and I bought my Hellfire burner, my 10-gallon pot. I drilled it. I went crazy. I bought all kinds of equipment. It's a rabbit hole.
It is.
And then when you realize you can make, and we all drink good beer, when you can make the beer that you buy for $18 to $20 for a 6-pack, you can make 5 gallons of that for about $5 more if you buy your ingredients at the right times. If you buy a 50-pound sack of grain, if you run the sales for your hops and stuff like that, you can make a really good beer for like $25. And I know it's changed a little bit with our economy right now. It's probably a little more, but that's what it used to be.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess hops are the most expensive part of the process.
Yeah. And it's cool when you have local places. It's getting harder. I mean, I'm sure it's harder to find local sources to get grain. It was a place I used to go to all the time, and they closed up. And now it's getting harder to go and say, "Hey, I want a 50-pound sack of this, and I want 5 pounds of that, 3 pounds of this." And like, yeah, no, you gotta go online to get all that.
I haven't homebrewed in, I don't know, probably since I started brewing commercially, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time.
But you just finished the brewery, right? Is that what
I
you were saying
did.
earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess
Segue.
we went way off course.
No, great stuff.
Yes. So, back to your original question. Yeah. So I balanced the coffee business and my brewery consulting business. For a long time, the consulting was front and center.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee was it was never a hobby, but it like, or I should say, once we started the business, it was never a hobby, right? But it also didn't take up a tremendous amount of time,
Okay.
so it was easy for it to be a side business.
Yeah.
That's not really the case anymore.
Gotcha.
As I said, fortunately, the business has grown.
Mhm.
I'm a lot busier these days. I roast a lot more. We package a lot more.
Yeah.
Summertime, we do a lot of markets. But coffee is basically a full-time job at this point.
Mhm.
But I also maintain the consulting business. So my last project was I'm just finishing up. So it's a brewery called 12 Note. It's a musically themed brewery in the Black Rock neighborhood of like the Bridgeport, Fairfield area.
Wow.
Very, very cool spot. Not only did they hit the lottery with their location, tons of foot traffic, cool little neighborhood, but the people, when they reached out to me, like my clients through this brewery, they reached out to me last fall, and they were in the process of looking to build a brewery. Well, then winter came along, and a brewery that already existed down there went up for sale. So they ended up buying that brewery. We did an acquisition. That was I came in to kind of go through, look at the equipment, give them the green light on, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What needs to be fixed? What should be replaced? Fortunately, these people have a decent amount of money, so they had the budget to do whatever they wanted to it. Which technically the brewery was turnkey when they bought it, but being that they had the money and they had the time, I love the fact that they made it their own, right? They took an already existing tap room and they gutted it.
Wow.
Down to studs.
Wow.
I mean, they tore out everything.
Huh.
Rebuilt the entire tap room. We swapped out a bunch of the brewing equipment, fixed some stuff, replaced some stuff. And then the fun part for me kind of started to happen. So the people who bought it, one guy is solid investor, just the money side. And the other guy, Brian, who I've been working with, Brian went to Siebel, which is a brewing school.
Oh, okay.
Very renowned brewing school. He did the Master Brewers program through Siebel. Siebel has a job placement program where if you're in the kind of upper sector of the class, they'll find a brewery for you. So he got placed into a brewery. He's from Pennsylvania, so he got placed into a brewery in Pennsylvania. Um, he worked there as a cellar guy for a while, and then he's an engineer by trade, so he's very detail oriented. Takes tons of notes. He's a smart dude. So he learned as much as he could along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met him, I'm used to I deal with two different types of people, two different clients. I either have a client who's worked in the brewing industry for a long time, who comes in, they already know what they're doing, right or wrong, whether they have good habits or bad, they know what's going on. Or I have the opposite side of the coin where it's somebody who comes from a completely different industry, who has zero brewing knowledge. Oh, I've been a home brewer for 2 years.
Yeah.
And the bank gave me a big check and I want to open a brewery. Okay. So in that, in that particular case, I usually tell them you're going to be a great brewery owner. And as a brewery owner, your first order of business is to hire a educated brewer, hire an experienced brewer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to hear that because, if their dream is to open a brewery, they think they're going to be the brewer. Brian was a pleasant surprise because Brian fell somewhere in the middle. He had a basic understanding. He had book knowledge. He had a small amount of in-house physical knowledge, but he had only been doing it for a short time. So, when I started talking with him and I found out that he wanted to be the brewer, okay, well, I worked with this guy for 4 months in-house and he did a killer job. So
Nice.
I think he's going to do just fine. They're currently just waiting on permits. State of Connecticut's kind of dragging it out a little bit.
I can't imagine.
Say it ain't
right,
so.
right, yeah. They, you would think, right? There was already a brewery that existed there for 9 years, so you would think that how hard can it be? Sure, different people, different background checks, whatever. But it's still they're not doing anything different. You know what I mean? It's just a brewery. They're not going to be a full bar. They're not. I don't even think they're going to have guest stuff.
Wow.
So because with a lot of breweries, you can get, I think it's a tavern license or whatever, which gives you the ability to have wine and cider and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with 12 Note, they're just trying to get the straight up manufacturing license and just have, just a small brewery. And it's been at this point it's probably going on 6 weeks. So
and they're 12 note, you said, because they're music.
Yeah,
theme.
12 Note.
Will they have bands and stuff like that there? Is that
It's
their
a very small place. So apparently in the chromatic scale of music, there's only 12 notes, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
12 core notes make up all music, everything you hear. So their kind of tagline and their whole mindset is, it's that core 12 notes that you can create anything with. To put it into brewing references, it's core fundamentals of a brewery that you can then do anything with.
Gotcha.
Right. So everything is musically themed as far as recipe or beer names,
Yeah.
merch, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
The tap room, even though it's rebuilt, is still the same square footage.
Yeah.
And that square footage only allowed the last brewery to have 49 people. So it's a pretty small space.
Gotcha.
They do want to have music.
Yep.
Obviously you got
Get 'em in there.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose on that
Yep.
one. But it's, they spared no expense. So
Yeah. And flavor wise, it seems like they're going to be all right.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yep. So Brian and I started brewing. whenever I work with a new brewery, especially one that doesn't have the right permits to be able to open the doors, um, you never start with hoppy beers, right? You always start with like bigger, maltier kind of beers that are going to age well,
Okay.
right? So hops tend to break down and fade away. Even if it's kept cold and kegs, whatever, there's a shelf life to a hop, right? But with malt profiles typically don't go away,
Mhm.
and some of them get better, right? I mean, to like talking about like your
Chocolate stout.
chocolate
Yeah.
stout,
The
right?
longer
It's
it
like,
sits, that
yeah.
just keeps. It's almost like wine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as there's no O2 pickup, right? As long as it can't oxidize, it can last a very long time.
Have you made an Adams beer?
Adam's beer.
So I just learned this when we had Black Pond on. They had an aging Adams, it's Adams, and then the beer part of that word is Bier.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's a type of aging beer. I had bought a bottle like 6 months before they came on, and I had brought it. Unfortunately, that was the episode where we had a 45-minute false start. The thing was still buffering.
Oh no.
And we had drank the whole thing already. and
Whoops.
and Adam's wife had texted him, said, "You guys going on at 6:45?" And we're like, "We thought we were on like the whole time." And yeah, but they had made what was called an Adams beer, and they explained the whole process and why that they had made it, and it was in memory of their brewery cat that they had, and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So I had never heard of an aging beer or an Adams beer.
Yeah.
And
I'm honestly not familiar with the term Adam's beer, but there are a lot of beer styles that are purposely made to age out,
right.
right?
Okay.
And by
And they did say a stout could be more stabilized.
yeah,
stout, right?
yeah, or I mean, today like sour beers are a big thing, right? And there's a whole like the definition of sour beer is so bastardized today that it's all over the place. But if you look back into kind of a little bit more into history, there were beers like the Flemish Red, right, which was technically a sour beer. A Flemish Red, it has to age for like I think it's like 5 years
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay.
before it can even be called that style.
So sours age well too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, depending on how it got soured, right? If then
Don't say right to me because I have no
it's-
idea.
Well, I mean, here's where the science comes in, right? So there's clean bacterial yeast strains and there's wild bacterial yeast strains, and that's you're gonna if you're gonna have a sour beer, you're gonna do one of two things. You're gonna you're gonna fake it and use something like lactic acid, right? Which just basically gives it a tart character.
Oh, okay.
Or you're going to use some kind of bacterial yeast strain that's going to purposely infect the product and bring out certain flavor profiles and certain off flavors that have now become sought after.
Huh.
Well, the danger of any of that is there's also a lot of wild yeast strains out there that we can't control, right? So even the cleanest of environments, if you get something like Pediococcus is a great one, right? So like lactobacillus is a wild yeast strain, but people have now used it so much that you've started to kind of figure out this is how it's going to interact with this product, right? These are the
Yeah.
flavors that I should be looking for. These are the aromas, all of that. But like I said, then there's other ones. Like a lot of them come from honestly like the wine industry, right? Because there again, grapes were really susceptible to a lot of bacterias and diseases. And then you put wine into barrels, and even though a wine might be like 15% alcohol, like it won't affect that wine, but the bacterial strains that survive that can now, like if you say you take a beer and you age a beer in a wine barrel, which is pretty popular. You know,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people aging stouts and whatnot in like Merlot barrels and red wine barrels. I mean, the odds that that beer is going to come out with some kind of funk to it are pretty high,
Okay.
right? And even though you did everything right and you might have been really, really sanitary about it, there can be bacteria within that barrel that you're going to have zero control over, you know?
Gotcha. Huh.
So like with sour beers, some of them age because they were purposely infected with certain strains that you can kind of, you know, keep in line,
Yeah.
keep in the reins. But then there's other yeast strains, there's other bacterias out there that you have no idea what it's going to do,
Hmm.
right? And they don't age well.
Do you find you can be more creative with coffee or beer?
uh well, I can definitely be more creative with beer. So one of the things I love about roasting coffee is coffee is more science than art,
Okay.
right? Like coffee, there's certain parameters in coffee that you absolutely have to hit, right? Um, and I've only been roasting coffee for a few years, so I still learn on a daily basis
Sure.
with coffee. I'm naturally like like I said, I have a pretty strong science background, and I'm naturally a very curious person. I like to read. When I get into something, I tend to do a lot of research on it. I tend to buy too many books. My wife will attest to that. Um, and I like to educate myself. So with coffee, I've purposely kind of put myself into a box where I learn from every roast I do, or all of our coffees, right? And that's why we're all single origin, is because like there's so many roasteries out there that blend different beans, different origins. Well, if you're always blending stuff, sure, it might create a delicious cup of coffee. Don't get me wrong, like some blends are incredible,
Hmm.
but if you're constantly blending beans, how do you know what that certain origin, the flavor profiles, the way it's going to react with different things, crop year to crop year, right? Like you have to know that particular bean very well before you can start saying like this bean's going to work really good with this bean.
Yeah.
And I'm just not at that. I feel like that takes years to accomplish,
Gotcha.
right? So like with all of our coffees, I do all the analysis on them. I get all the information about the crop year, you know, the um was the climate of that
Yeah.
particular year, right? Was it a dry year? Was it an overly hot year? Was there a lot of rainfall? Did the bean come out more dense than the previous years? Is there more acidity? Um, and then I can start to look at roast profiles, and I can experiment with that and do cuppings and say, well, this bean is really good at this roast, but not so good at that roast, and I want to know everything about that particular origin bean,
Hmm.
and I do try like I'm a giant fan of most things from Mexico.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, like I'm a surfer, right? And
Yeah.
like I've been down to like the southern Pacific coast of Mexico to go surfing down there, and just absolutely love the people, love the food, love the alcohol, but I also absolutely love the coffee. And depending on what region of Mexico, what state of Mexico you're getting beans from, they can all be very different, right? So I've kind of settled on for myself, like for our beans, uh, the southern coast, so like the Chiapas area of Mexico. Uh, Again, rainforest, high elevation, mountainous, amazing, amazing beans.
So basically, what it sounds like you're doing is you're building your own statistical data.
I
So
am
when you're ready to start building different profiles, you have all this data. You know that certain times a year the bean might taste better. You
right.
now you can you can really build the best recipe based on what your flavor profile you're
Yeah.
going
Oh,
for.
correct. Yeah. I mean, I definitely nerd out on it. Um, but what I, with beer, again, I've been making beer a long time, and I understand beer.
Yeah.
I can make beer in my sleep, you know? So it gives me a lot more creative freedom because I know, like, oh, I can do this and get away with it. I can do that and get away with it. I can make this style or that style or age it in this barrel or, you know, use these hops that you wouldn't traditionally use in this style of beer, but it's going to be awesome. Right. Like, I don't, I don't hold myself to as structured of a process with beer.
Okay.
I did at one time, but today again, I kind of know like how things are going to go and how they're going to turn out. Um, but that is exactly why again, right? I think like that knowledge and those experiences and that confidence of just kind of knowing like if you do this, you're okay. You do
Yeah.
this, not so much,
Yeah.
right? That is what gives me the ability to work with people who know nothing about brewing beer.
Right.
And
Because you know the parameters,
yeah,
so to
right.
speak. So
It's
you're
like
still feeling your way in the coffee
it,
world.
exactly,
Yeah.
and so, and I mean, with beer, I have a really big network I have a lot of giants I can stand on their shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like I have a lot of people in the beer industry that have a lot more knowledge than I do that are on speed dial,
Nice.
right? But in the coffee world, I don't really know a lot of people. And then
Yeah.
the people I do know, right, or the local roasters that are around, I mean, they've all been doing it for a short time too. It's not
Yeah.
like we have any roasters in this area that are 20 years deep in the coffee roasting world that have failed or tried and failed and
Right.
can tell you life lessons on roasting coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the guys at Two Dogs or Chubby Dog, like I'm sure Adam learned just like I did. You know, And-
Yeah. They're all getting there. I know. Two dogs. They definitely. They go to different schools. They're going to different
yeah,
classes
yep,
and stuff. And yeah, and Adam came from radio and bought Ben's beans.
right, right,
So, yeah, they have interesting backgrounds, but it's kind of cool that you kind of all learning as you go. And I would say keep networking because there might be someone around
yeah,
that's been doing it for 30
sure,
years. Who
sure.
knows? But
I
that is kind of cool how you've kind of set that. You've set like a bar to stay in your lane, but also learn so you can switch lanes
right,
eventually and,
right,
and start
exactly. I
and
mean,
start expanding out.
I think that's how when you're learning something new, I feel like that's the best way to truly learn something,
Yeah,
right? Is to have set mediums. And if you're going to change something, change one thing at a time,
right, right.
right?
Yeah,
Like, don't just throw things around. Oh, I roast to this level, that level, whatever. I blend these beans. Oh, this is great,
yeah,
Because I mean, bean blending is really all just based on weight, right? But how do you know if you don't have a state of the art coffee roaster with all kinds of computerized technology, right? I mean, like I have a very nice coffee roaster with it plugs into my laptop and I have all the programs, right, to be able to run, but I still physically have to run the roaster. I can track the roasts, I can record data, I can replicate things based on temperatures and times, but I physically have to adjust heat, adjust airflow, right? And anytime you have a human element, I think there's always going to be some kind of fluctuation,
yeah,
right? So unless you have like a state of the art roaster where you literally you dump beans in, you hit play, and it
yeah,
runs through the roast profile for you, you know,
right.
there's always going to be some fluctuation there,
Yeah.
you know, and
Plus, like you said before, however the bean grows, what the weather was
right,
like for that
right,
year.
exactly. I
So
mean,
then you have all those different anomalies that
moisture
you're
is
playing
huge,
with. Yeah.
right? I mean, like you can, and honestly, like I've seen. I don't have the ability. I don't have the lab ability to be able to do this with my own stuff, but like I've read enough articles about bigger roasters that have the ability to check moisture contents and all this stuff within their crop years, and it's pretty common that depending on where, so they harvest X amount of tons of coffee, right,
Mhm.
from one, say one farm, typically multiple fields, same climate, but depending on what the drainage in the field is, right, or pH
Right.
levels in the soil,
Yeah.
those beans can be very different. Well, when they get packaged, a lot of times it's all blended, right? All these fields are blended together, but the way that they age is going to be different. And depending on where that coffee ages in the warehouse, you know,
Oh, again, position.
so
Yeah.
exactly. So you can have some beans that might dry out more than other beans, right? pH levels can be a little different. So you're using the same crop year from the same farm, same bean, but from, roasting in January to roasting that same bean in November,
Yeah.
how many bags have you gone through at that point, right? What warehouse did it come from?
Yeah.
It's like all those things make a difference. So moisture content is absolutely huge within a green coffee bean and how it reacts on the roasting process,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like I said, that's what I love about coffee is I get to learn new things all the time, and eventually I'll be at a point where I can start playing around and I can get more creative with things. But for right now, it's just mastering what I do, the roast levels I have, the beans that we've come to work with,
Yeah.
um, and
Well, it's coming out great, man. I'll tell you what.
thank you.
I between you, Two Dogs, and Chubby Dog, um, I've just been able to try so many different roasts, between all three and your Guatemalan Italian roast is my number one right now for sure.
Is
Well-
that the one we're drinking right now?
Nope, right now we have his Peruvian espresso.
This is,
So this is-
I love coffee. This right here is outstanding.
Oh, gravity.
That's all right.
First of all, thank you, John. I appreciate that. Matt, I have stuff for you. I
Oh.
come bearing gifts.
You're so wonderful.
Okay, so when we spoke about me coming on the show, you had mentioned the Italian roast and how you love the Italian roast, and then you were talking about this, like the nighttime, and how you wish that you could have an Italian roast decaf.
Yep.
Well, our decaf that we use a water processed decaf bean from Chiapas, Mexico. Again, like I said, I have quite an affinity for Mexico, so I get a lot of beans from Mexico. That is where our decaf bean comes from,
Yeah.
but it's typically roasted to espresso.
Gotcha.
So after speaking with you, I have an 8-pound cafe roaster. I can comfortably roast. They say it can do down to a pound, but there's so much fluctuation that you don't get the roasts are terrible.
Okay.
So like 2 or 3 pounds,
Yeah.
you can comfortably roast in it and have a really solid. No, you'll know at 3 pounds what an 8-pound roast would do.
Okay.
It's very consistent. So I was able to roast like 2 or 3 pounds of our Mexican espresso to an Italian roast. So that's just for you.
Oh,
It's
I can't wait to try this.
it's a one and done. But
So
we also have been doing a half calf with the Mexican bean and our Colombian French roast.
Okay.
So that's the only blend I do is the half calf. And
Lovely.
it started out life because my wife is Italian. We tend to drink a lot of espresso in the evenings. And I mean, we're both, obviously we're coffee people. We drink a lot of coffee all day long.
Yeah.
And it just started to get to that point where it was like, if I could blend out like, a 50-50 of our espresso, like our decaf espresso with like either a French roast or an Italian roast or whatever, and then make espresso shots and whatnot with it.
Yeah.
So we were just blending at home. And I was like, well, if we like to do this, I'm sure there's other people who do this. So
Yeah.
we've been doing a half calf. Well, I already make the Italian roast, the Guatemalan Italian roast, right?
Yeah.
I have plenty of that around. So I then took your Italian decaf and I blended it with the Guatemalan. So now you have
Guatemalan Mexican blend.
yeah. So
50-50 blend of regular and decaf roast level Italian roast.
so there's your
Thank you so
there's your
much,
special half
man.
calf.
This is awesome.
So between the half calf and the decaf, hopefully that gets you through. And there's another bag of decaf on the floor there. So.
Not for nothing. Amy and I are going to be coming over one night to
That's
drink
fine.
espressos.
And I love sharing. And like I got this new espresso machine, and we've just been crazy busy to finish
I
out
know.
the summer. But I love, like, I've taught a few people what an affogato is, and an espresso poured over French.
Yeah, I haven't get to try that
French-
one yet.
French vanilla ice cream.
You're slipping.
Look at that.
Mug.
Oh, we're drinking a lot more coffee
Another
on
mug.
this podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So
That's awesome.
That's a really cool
I-
mug.
Now you said you're in Sterling. Is that what you said you are?
yeah. Well, technically, we're so we are. If you think about like North Sterling comes to a point,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we own 4 acres of land in North Sterling. The backside of our property is Foster, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
So literally, like we have,
Yeah.
right? The people that we bought the house from had horses, so there was a 3-acre horse field, horse pasture, that has been turned into, I mean, basically what we use as our backyard at this point. It's a flat, dry grass. There is a little wooded section, but for the most part, it's just a big field. That is where the roastery is built. Everything on the property is solar. So there was a big barn with a 60 amp panel already in the barn. So we tied in, trenched it, tied into the barn. Everything comes from solar.
Nice.
So the backside of that field is Foster. And then across the street from us, there's so we're kind of on a little triangle area. On the backside of the house across the street from us, his property line is Killingley.
Oh, okay.
So-
So I think I know what you're talking about over in that area. I can picture
Yeah,
that.
so like Sawmill Hill,
Yep.
like right near Jordan's Sawmill.
Yep.
Yep.
Shout
Right,
out to Jordan Sawmill. Awesome
So
place.
we are if you're coming from, I guess the easiest thing is like Route 6 to Cucumber Hill in
Yep.
Foster.
Yep.
Right. You then turn on to Killingley Road, maybe East Killingley Road. It's like you go from Foster, Rhode Island, you hit the Welcome to Connecticut, Sterling. We're the first place.
Oh, nice.
So we're
Nice.
technically in Sterling, but it's, I mean,
You're right there on the 3 lines.
I could literally I mean, all jokes aside, I could throw a rock into either Foster or Killingley. So, it's,
And what are your plans for the future now? You have
domination, world domination. I mean,
I meant like so
duh.
you're a like working out of a cottage license, so you're gonna bump that up now. Is
Yeah,
that the
well,
idea to get a
so-
cafe license kind of thing.
So the business is, like I said, it's grown, right?
Yep.
It's way bigger than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And even though like right now with farmers markets, we stay incredibly busy, but eventually those end. And we know, even though we have more customers this year, we also know that come December,
Mhm.
we're 100% reliant on things like our website, right?
Yep.
Or just doing pop-ups or random, like, maybe we do like the Stonington Farmers Market or, some indoor
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But we know for the most part, we're pretty reliant on just the website.
Yeah.
Website can be totally hit or miss. I mean, we've had weeks where it's like we get freaking 15 orders from the website and we're like, this is crazy, and then it's immediately followed the next week with 2. So it's very hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
We know that in order to grow the business more, we're going to have to start looking at wholesale.
Yeah.
So in Connecticut, so basically, like you said, we have a cottage license. In Connecticut, a cottage license allows the manufacturer to sell the product, right? That's what you see, like anybody e-commerce or like all these people you see at farmers markets. Those are all cottage licenses that
For the most part.
I can sell
Right.
anything. I can sell all the coffee I roast, right?
Yeah.
But what I can't do is take 20 pounds of coffee and go to a cafe and say, here,
Wholesale.
why don't you serve our beans,
Right.
right? Because at that point, it's no longer me selling you the product.
Right.
Or I can't put coffee out into, like Big Y or Co-op or whatever. So in order to do that, you need a food manufacturing license, which is a weird thing, right? So like coffee lands in this weird gray area, especially for me. I'm not a cafe. I'm a roaster. I'm a manufacturer, period. I have zero interest in having a cafe,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
It's like
Yeah.
I have no problem talking with people.
Yeah.
I'm decently social,
I like the way you said that.
but I have zero interest in like working with the public on a daily basis.
Gotcha.
Right? I like to create things. I like to make the product and then you sell it, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get that license though, we basically have to go through all the same steps that a cafe would, right? We need a 3-bay sink, a hand washing sink, mop sink, all this stuff. So we basically need a commercial kitchen to do that.
Yeah.
We are in the process of navigating those waters, and hopefully sooner than later, we're able to get an inspection from the Department of Consumer Protections and be able to get that food manufacturing license.
Nice.
And then, I mean, like I said, all we're looking to do is to be able to sell wholesale. But the byproduct of that license, because it's like it's either black or white, it's
Yeah.
right. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
once we get that license, we can do anything we want, right? Because I mean, it basically gives us the ability. We could have a cafe,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we
Or
can
even tastings when people
Right.
come pick it
Taste-
up on Saturday.
100%, man.
Yeah, that'd be
I mean,
cool.
we can pour coffee. We do whatever we want with it.
Now, have you ever? So I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the Brooklyn Business Association. So I've been doing a lot of networking.
Sure.
And one of the things we did was we went down to this place in Willimantic.
Click.
Okay, so you're familiar with Click.
I'm very familiar with it.
I was just curious
Yeah.
if you could somehow incorporate, but I've also heard that from different people can be very expensive. I love the idea of it,
Right.
especially I wanted to own my own restaurant when I was a young man. But like you're talking about the licensing alone, unless you had a massive amount of capital, was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And we're going back to the early '90s, so I was just curious. So you already looked into Click.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. I've been in communications with a gentleman named Aaron there. He's been very helpful. And who knows? Maybe we'll end up there for a while, but we're also exploring a couple of different avenues right now. And end result, the key is eventually we're going to have the ability to grow the business beyond where it sits today, and to whether we have a storefront, just a roastery storefront, or we just continue to do what we're doing and, put the coffee out into shops or, grocery stores or whatever. I don't know, but so the other challenge of all this too is, again, to your point earlier, I do still have a consulting business that I run,
Yeah.
right? And even though like I'm kind of in between clients right now,
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's others coming down the pipeline. I just got an email recently from a big client that if it ends up working out, it's going to take up a lot of time,
Yeah.
and
Right. Right.
so I mean that's terrifying, right? It's like it could be pretty lucrative, but at the same time, how much bandwidth do I have?
Right.
And then as mentioned, right, it's like we have 4 acres of mowable property. I'm very fortunate that my wife is, she loves, she's not afraid to go out and do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she loves, like, we have a nice like riding mower tractor.
Yeah.
She loves to just go out there and drive the tractor around and mow, and and she's fully capable of taking care of the property on her own. So that kind of takes a lot off my plate. But I mean, we have all the same. We have a house and property, and dogs and all the same stuff as everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
She has a very serious job, right? So she works in the aerospace industry, and
Wow.
Nice.
like she, her job, she's on meetings all day long, and some of those meetings, a lot of times she deals with people on the West Coast.
So time difference. So
Yeah.
she's in-
So
used
she's
to-
like, she's in meetings until 5, sometimes 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so
It's
trying
tough
to
to keep the balance.
right, trying to
and-
balance all
yeah.
that, and then, optimistically say, oh yeah, let's grow this coffee business.
Yeah.
So at some point I do have to make a decision, right? If we get a
Yeah.
cottage, I mean, if we get that food manufacturing license and we decide that we want to try to jump into FSC roasters like full on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start practicing a little restraint when it comes to clients, right? I mean, because
Sure.
like right now, it's
Yeah.
when I first started the consulting business, it was so feast or famine that I'm kind of gun shy to say no. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I also have worked with enough people and have built my reputation to the point where I do turn people down at this point. Like I can, within the first like 10 minutes of talking with someone, I know whether they're going to be, it's going to be a good like consultant client relationship,
Yeah.
and they're serious about a project, or there's an awful lot of people out there that are like, I have a dream with no funding and I've done no research
Yeah.
and I don't know the first thing about building a brewery, but I want to hire you.
Yeah.
I'm not where you start. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm honored, but save your money, do some research,
Yeah.
find funding. So
It's pretty cool. You're hitting on a lot of those key points that I found myself in a couple years ago, where I had my full time gig and we made a conscious decision that I was going to leave my
Yeah.
my engineering job to do my business.
terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's been a few years, and there's still days. Matt and I have lots of conversations. There's days where I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I left this world behind, and I'm like, I love what I do. But there's days where I still get nervous because we're not getting any younger.
Sure. Sure. Well, and I mean, I guess that's the other thing, right? Is like kind of reinventing yourself at 50 years old is,
Yep.
is
It's scary,
yeah, it is.
but it's also exciting.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And that's, to go back to what we were talking about a little while ago, right? It's like, I'll never leave the brewing industry.
Okay.
Beer has built me a wonderful life with some of the most amazing friends. I love it,
Yeah.
right?
Nice.
But sometimes beer can be mundane. Or at least the brewing process, the building of breweries, they're all the same. They might look different, they might be in different towns, The process is all the same.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that when you start to do things time after time after time, and you know, like, again, going back to what I was saying about how I personally am learning to roast coffee, I'm meticulous and I focus on things, and I don't like to change a lot of variables without knowing exactly, like, if I change this, this is going to happen.
Right.
Right. So I definitely have I have a very structured way that I deal with clients.
Yeah.
And if it's a full build, I know, you know,
Yeah. You have your
step
steps. Your
step
punch
1
list.
through 8,000, right?
Yeah.
And this is how they have to go, and this is how we're going to do it
Yeah.
so that it's successful. But
Sorry, my dog's bringing me socks.
It's bringing you more than that.
It's my.
The paint's curling over here behind me.
Sorry. My kids left some socks
that was
out.
Matt, actually.
Yeah, I thought I was going to blame it on the
No, I
dog.
don't think so.
He made a weird eye contact with me a little while ago. It's like almost apologetic. I wasn't sure what it was.
Gotta love a good dog.
Yeah.
So you can blame it.
We have two, and one of them is pretty gassy. So
Yep, we had that. I have a lab mix, and we learned early on that we had to start using a slow feeder bowl because he could literally peel the paint off the walls.
Yeah.
and the vet was like, "Get a slow feeder bowl."
yeah,
All that air going in.
right.
I'm like, "Oh my god, dog, you're killing me."
That's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah,
I kind of forgot where you were. Oh yeah, so you'll never leave the beer industry.
yeah. No, so I'll never leave beer, but like I said, I'm kind of at that point in my life where the fact that I don't know everything about roasting coffee
It
and I'm
intrigues
continuously
you to-
learning,
Yeah,
it's still exciting,
yeah,
right? And like when I make a mistake roasting coffee, there's a lot of oh shit moments, right?
Yeah.
It's like I have to figure things out. I have to
Right.
like physically, what went wrong? How do I fix this? Right? In the beer industry, there's been a lot of those, right? I've had countless oh shit moments. But there's only so many things that can go wrong in the beer industry, right? I mean, there's thousands of things that can go wrong, but once you've screwed up enough times,
right.
right? And you've been there and done that, and I've dealt with that problem. 15 years ago at this brewery, we had that happen, right? It's like you start to kind of learn, like, okay, well, this just happened. Do this. Problem solved.
Yeah,
Right. But in coffee, I don't have that confidence yet. It's still exciting. It's still a little nerve wracking, you know? And
yeah,
I mean, I guess I need that.
Now with the beer industry, we always joke and say, "Hey, at the end of the day, it's still alcohol. As long as you don't get like
Sure.
well, even if you do get a yeast strain, well, you go from an ale to maybe the verge of a sour, but you don't really have to throw it away unless it's funky. Now with coffee, you're also on a smaller batch size, so you're not if you make a bad what you would call bad coffee,
Yep.
maybe the profile didn't meet your taste.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's still coffee. It's still drinkable.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah, totally. I mean,
Now, maybe it's a little bit bitter
Right,
or something.
I mean, unless you like totally scorch it, which fortunately I really haven't lost. I don't think I've made a batch of coffee yet
yeah.
that wasn't drinkable.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
might not be like I've gotten pretty good at dialing in all of our roasts now. Like I can hit things pretty spot on.
Yeah.
But even if I were to go a little beyond like a certain roast level, or sometimes like just watching the bean, right? So the roaster has a little window in it, and the light is one of those. It's a very bright LED light, but it also has that kind of I don't know. The hue is a little weird, right? So sometimes like the beans inside the roaster might look a little different than what they really look like when you dump them in the cooling tray, right? And depending on the bean, the origin of the bean, and
Right, right,
again, like, different beans roast different ways for sure, you know. So I've had a few of them where it's like you think you're going to say like an Italian roast. Well, Italian roast is a bad example, but like say like an espresso roast, and you dump them, and you're like, ah, yeah, that's definitely medium roast,
Oh, okay. So it
right?
didn't go
It's
long enough.
yeah,
Yeah, didn't take the heat.
yeah.
enough or
So
something.
I'm not just gonna package them and sell them. It's like, all right, well, I guess that's ours. That's what we'll drink. Give it to friends. I mean, we go through a lot of coffee,
Yeah,
and our batch sizes are only 8 pounds at a time. So, I mean, it's not a lot of consequence, right? It's I think somewhere around 10 bags, 11 bags,
yeah.
depending on the roast. Like light roast, you'll get more because they're heavier. Still more
Gotcha.
moisture in there, so you'll get more bags. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not like a catastrophic, like, oh man, I just lost 80 pounds of,
Yeah.
you know.
And one thing I will say is like learning to French press and cold brew, I I can appreciate lighter roasts, like medium and lighter roasts more. So like I didn't always like them because they'd be maybe watery tasting going through
Hmm.
a drip, you know what I mean? But when you really extract the flavors out of them with
Yeah,
like a French press, it you can I don't know how to say it, but it's like I'm more willing to try
sure.
the because I've always been a dark roast person for whatever
So
reason, and now
here's the
even
thing.
pulling the fruitiness out of a light roast, that kind of thing.
So
Is
all
like,
right,
oh,
so here's the thing,
interesting.
right? Is like, yes, I really enjoy good dark roast coffee as well.
Mhm.
That's where my palate goes to.
Yeah.
But you should be able to have a light roast or a medium roast coffee that's just as flavorful and just as bold as a dark roast coffee,
Right.
right? It should never be watery. Just because it's a light roast coffee doesn't mean that it's going to be light in flavor.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So the big things that happen, and here again, right? So this is like the chemistry side of roasting coffee, the science that happens. So coffee beans are naturally acidic, right?
Hmm.
When coffee beans, green coffee, depending on where they're grown, denser beans tend to have a lower pH level, more acidity, right? Acidity breaks down during the roasting process. So much like with people say, like, oh, caffeine, right? Like, oh, light roast has more caffeine than a dark roast. It's true to a very narrow margin,
Okay.
right? So caffeine
Very small
molecules
amount.
are volatile and they do tend to break down during the roasting process, but the caffeine molecule is directly tied to acidity and moisture and your pH levels, right? So because it's a volatile compound, if you take moisture out of the bean, or if the acid breaks down, which caffeine naturally clings to,
Hmm.
right? Because the acid is the first thing that starts to go with the roasting process. That's why a dark roast coffee is going to be less acidic,
Huh.
right? From a pH level, a dark roast has a much higher pH level than a light roast will, right? Because of the acids breaking down during the roasting process. Now, when you remove, right? So we got these two things that kind of hang out together. This is caffeine, this is acidity. If you remove this, and this is a volatile compound, it's going to degrade, right? It has nothing protecting it. So that's why, like, typically the longer you go through a roast profile, the less caffeine. And I mean, when we talk about less caffeine, it's like a milligram,
Yeah, it's
like
super
like
light
there's
amount
there's
that you're cooking it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a giant change, but there is
Right.
definitely less in a dark roast than you would have in a light roast. All of that being said, flavor profiles should be front and center. They should still be a bold, like full flavored cup of coffee,
Yeah.
right? Again, tying into like acidity, light roast coffees, a lot of times you'll hear like flavor profiles of like berry or citrus or kind of tart. Well, I mean, think about it. Think about it from any other consumable product point of view. If something is more acidic or has a lower pH level, it's already a bit tartar, right?
Yeah.
In beer, that creates sourness,
Yeah.
right? So that tart flavor naturally, like naturally developed because of the pH levels in the bean, plays into that. Oh, it's, tastes like strawberries.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yes, there is definitely, much like with any other, with wine or beer or whatever, there is definitely a certain flavor profile that comes out of a certain bean at a certain roast level. But if you then add in a little tartness, it's like, oh, I can really taste that, right? Well,
Man,
a lot of what you're tasting is the acidity.
it's super interesting. I love it. It's
And
just
and
the
then
nerdiness that we can
Oh.
get into. It's just so cool. Yeah, I really appreciate, you just sharing that knowledge. We could go on and on and on,
yeah,
Another thing that's going on tonight. So, for those of you who don't know, John and I were working. Go ahead, Dave. Have a seat over here. Get your microphone up. Dave, this is Jeff Goodnow.
hey Dave.
Jeff, this is. I'm thirsty. So John and I worked the chicken barbecue all weekend at the Brooklyn Fair, and weeks, even months leading up into that. John and Amy were just pivotal in that whole process and teaching me and being in the Boy Scouts and whatnot. So Dave and I were thinking that they were owed an extra thank you for that.
Oh, you're killing me.
So it says John in little print and Amy in big print because she's the one that.
Because she's the boss.
Right. So
She's a primary. Just ask her.
as Matt said, on behalf of the troop and everybody who worked, we appreciate all your efforts. And having gone through this process myself for a long time, what you guys do and put into it is a lot of work, and we all appreciate it. So thank you very much.
That's awesome.
You're putting me on the spot here. Thank
Yeah.
you very much from Amy and I. I mean, obviously, I've been involved in Scouts for 10 years. I love it. I see the benefits of it for my boys and our family. It's great family time. So that means a lot to me, Dave. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Matt.
Yeah.
Not just Dave. Matt, thanks. And hey, you did a heck of a job when we were, cooking and having a good time, even if you did turn a barbecue sauce container into a bomb.
I make memories better than I make food.
Matt and Sauce don't get along.
Yeah.
That translates into a life well lived.
Yeah, there's some offline, some great comments that came out of this weekend. So
Yeah. So I really don't belong in the kitchen, and I thank you for giving me the education and tutelage that you guys both have given me, because it's a little bit more palatable for me to be in the kitchen. Just hanging out with you guys.
it's always a good time. I think I've learned a lot from Dave as well over the years, and it never fails. It's always a good time being in that barbecue pit. The camaraderie, the joking, but it's all for the big picture. It's all for the Scouts. It's all for Troop 44, and I think the good publicity is good for all the local packs and troops, whether it's a girl troop, boy troop. It doesn't matter. It's just a good thing for everybody when they see that camaraderie and the fun that we have.
After listening to this podcast, I think we need to add to our menu of liquid offerings.
Of coffee?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, this coffee is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean we try to get all the ingredients locally. You know what I mean? So the like the honey came from A to Z.
A to J.
A to J.
I went to Daigle Farms, and talked to Dylan, and he was able to source the amount that we needed. So, he went to, I believe it's A to J is the name of the actual company. And lo and behold, when we were at the fair, you know, Dave actually went and got a little bit more honey
Thanks,
because we needed some more, and they actually were at the fairgrounds, so it was kind of cool that we were able to go back and get a little bit more for them. So
Yeah.
we kept the same flavor profile.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the secret sauce, secret recipe that's been around for the Boy Scouts for decades, right?
It's been tweaked a little bit over time because they don't allow alcohol in the fairgrounds anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I want the recipe with the beer. We'll have to talk.
Well, you know, this goes back to what we're talking about. You know, you're talking about making coffee, you talk about brewing beer. All of this is just a matter of cooking and,
Yeah.
and playing and experiment. I wasn't half the cooking that I learned came with just trying new things. Now, being Italian, I mean, obviously everything starts with garlic. For me, garlic and oregano, and I always say if you could put garlic and oregano in a perfume bottle and put a little spritz behind a woman's ear, I mean that's a perfect smell right there for a perfume.
I concur.
Does your wife know that?
It's getting
She
weird.
does know this.
Getting weird.
So,
18 years. Today's his anniversary.
Yeah, that's my anniversary.
oh man, thanks for spending it with me.
Yeah. A funny story. Max is like, "Hey, you want to host?" And I'm like, "Hey, it's my anniversary. Let me ask Amy." And unfortunately, my youngest had a soccer game or scrimmage tonight, so had to take him anyway. She's like, "Go ahead, you might as well go because it's not like we're doing anything anyways." So yeah.
Yeah, my next text was, "Oh, well, we can put you on at a different time," and he was like, "No, hold on." I'm like, okay,
Are you sure?
So, Dave, let me ask you. So the barbecue sauce had beer in it. Did that beer happen to simmer in that product for a while?
Yeah, so it wasn't fancy beer. It was whatever Bud Light or whatever they had that they would store in the cooler back in the day.
Do,
but
do you
basically
think?
it would boil the beer? The sauce would get boiled with beer in it.
Okay, so it was over 173 degrees.
Yeah,
You didn't have any alcohol in it.
right.
I mean, if it, 5 minutes at 173, it'll not that much.
Yeah, it just,
Right.
It added a little flavor to it, but not. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. There's
Yeah.
no alcohol.
the idea, just the Boy Scouts just went no alcohol for
Gotcha.
anyone and no affiliation with it when we're doing scouts and
Gotcha.
and whatnot. I don't know if anybody noticed, but last week when Dave and Pat Boyd were on, I had taken all the alcohol out of here. Just 'cause
We
it's-
appreciate it.
we're with the kids and it's with scouts and we
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah,
everything
no,
on the
that's
up and
cool,
up.
man.
So
You know?
same thing, but doesn't mean we can't make that barbecue sauce again on our
For
own
home use.
for home use with the
Well,
beer in
I'll
it.
tell you, if you guys bring this coffee out, I'm going camping again.
Oh, this is. I take good coffee on all of our campings.
Yeah, Dave, I don't think you realize. Yeah, we
We're the
bring good
coffee
coffee, French
patrol.
presses.
What was the Folgers during the weekend? That you
Well, that was because it was the fair, and I thought
Someone
we were
else
selling it. And
bought
go ahead,
it.
bag on me. That was the
I
one
just
thing.
said someone else bought it.
Yeah, I'll take the hit for that. I didn't go and I didn't go buy local coffee because I if we were selling a lot, Folgers would
Hey,
be the
When
regular.
I ran the
person.
barbecue, we sold breakfast sandwiches and coffee in the morning from 5:30 to 10 o'clock, and we'd sell quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
5:30 in the morning.
I-
Oh, to
I-
the cruise.
I would walk across the street from my house at 5:30 in the morning and start. They were just microwavable breakfast sandwiches, but the coffee
Oh.
was good.
Gotcha.
It's awesome.
Well, next year, we'll buy the coffee from
We still have the big coffee urn,
local
right?
Oh, yeah,
roaster.
we have the big
I
urn.
think we got the
There's a few
bidder right
around,
here.
He's not into wholesale yet. Though.
Working on it,
He will be
man. God, I hope we
No, we'll
by
definitely,
this time next year. I sure hope we have that license.
we'll definitely work something out. The only other thing is the chickens, because there isn't a farm around here that can supply 700 and half
Oh, yeah, huh.
chickens for
Yeah,
one weekend.
And to ensure that they're processed according to USDA
Yeah,
guidelines and
yeah, all that stuff,
that's-
so.
yeah.
And that was a big. That was I did talk to Dylan about that when I was there, and he's like, "Yeah, it's you guys need the USDA thing." I'm like, "Yeah, we do."
Yeah.
And the hard part is obviously they're supporting local, and there's also the fact that we're trying to obviously raise money, and you want to do both. You want to support local, but sometimes you have to
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got to
Balance,
follow the
right,
price.
right.
and-
If we're gonna mention names, we can't forget about Soleil and Sons.
No,
Oh,
I didn't even get there
goodness.
yet.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Soleil's rolls.
Yeah, we're going
were-
through them all because
Yeah.
Soleil just donated all the rolls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill is
which
awesome,
was
man.
so great and gracious of him. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
His three nephews were in the troop when I was scoutmaster, and they were just a blast to have.
Oh, nice.
I've known Bill Beausoleil for many, many years.
Yeah.
He's a really good dude.
Awesome.
And if we're gonna, since we're doing shout outs, I am gonna have to. One more donation was Marshall at Walmart. She's been huge at giving back to the community, and that's not for nothing. That's what this whole thing is about, Matt.
Yeah,
Small business, and I know Walmart's not a small business, but they are a player in our local community, and they do give back.
Yeah.
And for the fact of the matter is, today, the stuff that was left over that we couldn't use or we weren't able to use, I met with Patty Buell from Brooklyn Community Cares, and I gave the stuff to her, so now it can go right back into the community. It was, so
That's awesome.
Winnie's already shared that post, so
Nice.
I didn't even, there was no post about that.
no,
That
it
was,
was, they did it.
oh, really?
did
I didn't know
post.
that.
That's
So
awesome.
that was just us to Patty, just like, hey, please make sure these people get what they need, and she was super happy.
That's awesome.
So, and there's what comes around goes around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about the corn that we bought.
Oh, the corn.
What farm is that?
That's Lone Elm Farm.
Lone Elm Farm. That's out in Hampton, right?
It is, and I went there to yesterday afternoon, and I didn't realize I've driven by that 100 times, and it's a
Shack.
literally a shack, and he's got his corn, and there was some beautiful tomatoes in there. I almost had to grab some tomatoes on the way home. I was thinking about some tomato sandwiches or something, and so yeah, he's a Keith, nice, wicked nice guy,
And
awesome butter sugar corn.
Keith
he
Christopher.
he brings it to us in the morning, and pretty much when we're it only takes 10 minutes to boil the corn. So like, it is literally he's cutting it that morning and bringing us the bushels, as we're getting ready to cook it, and
Don't get much fresher.
it's so fresh. And
awesome.
yeah, everybody usually raves about the corn as well. So as much as the chicken almost. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to use all these local vendors and local farmers for the stuff that we sell to raise money for the Boy Scouts.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
So next year we have to add coffee to the mix.
Yeah, we'll get some good local coffee, and maybe we'll make the sign a little bit bigger too. I feel like we don't sell a lot of coffee.
No, because
It's hot too. A lot of people like a cold drink. So,
Sure.
So
I don't know about that. I'll drink iced coffee when it's 30 below zero, and I'll drink hot coffee when
So
it's
you
95.
and I are alike.
Yeah.
Very much so. The
Yeah.
last time I brought that up with people on this podcast, they thought I was a psycho because I'll still have hot coffee. on
That's
hot
yeah.
days.
I mean, we make cold brew at home, but I drink hot coffee year round.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, what is iced coffee? I don't know what that is.
Oh, Dave's that guy. Dave's that guy who doesn't drink iced coffee.
that also brings up the question: when you're trying out a coffee or a coffee shop, what do you order? It's got to be something consistent, right? Whether it's in
Yeah,
January, June, if you're in Aruba, or if you're in Canada, if
Yeah.
it's cold, whatever.
That's an interesting question.
What do you try? To me, I now am a double shot of espresso straight up, and it used to be a medium hot coffee, but now I just like I'll try their espresso.
Yeah, right on. I usually go Americano,
Americano.
So-
Okay, yeah,
because that and the funny thing about that is it was traveling internationally that started because I mean basically outside of the States, Americano is if you want a coffee, that's what you're getting. Right. So yeah, now it's if I go to a coffee shop or I travel, I'm on the road or whatever, that's what I always go with. Though I have learned my lesson that now I always ask for a few ice cubes in it because they're always just so hot.
oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like
to me that slows me down, the heat.
Yeah.
So like you kind of, especially like if it's got a good head of crema, I'll start
Sure.
by sipping that off first, and then like it's starting to cool.
Well, they always like
goes.
it. I mean, it's just espresso and tea water, basically. But you got to figure if the cup's getting 3/4 of the way filled with tea water, that's boiling water.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's-
Americano does come
It's
out. really
they're
hot.
so hot.
I think my go-to is always espresso. Like we were in Puerto Rico, what was that 2 years ago? And man, it's like an art form. When
Yeah.
you go into a coffee shop, it's you're not walking and getting a quick cup of coffee. And we hit this little place and we were down in San Juan, old San Juan, and it was like probably high, very, very high up on the best coffee I've had, except for when it was in Sicily.
That's awesome.
And it was like, so I almost always go for espresso because you can't hide it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't hide a bad cup of a bad coffee even in an espresso.
Right. And that's the other thing about not doing an iced coffee is because ice
Right.
hides profile of the flavor.
What about you, Dave?
Americano is usually what I get. And my other point about hot, I appreciate the hot coffee piece, right? Because if it's too hot, you can't fully taste it.
Right.
If it's and if it's cooled down, it means you've had time to sit and talk with whomever you're at with and enjoying the company as opposed to just taking a hot coffee and walking.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
about the
That's awesome.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, this has been awesome. If you need some coffee, visit www.fscroasters.com. Jeff, I really appreciate coming out here nerding out with us.
Yeah.
Coffee
yeah.
and
Thanks, man.
beer.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you.
It's
And
awesome.
obviously, you're always welcome. And we're going to have to do some social drinking here now. Thanks for watching, everybody. The Community Workbench family is promoting their Be the One campaign. It was started by the American Legion in efforts to prevent veteran suicide. If you know a veteran, call them. Be the one to check in on them. For more details, visit betheone.org. Join us again next Monday night at 6, September 1st, when we interview Jeff Wade, a local comedian. He will be our first actual comedian on the bench. I'm
Awesome.
very, very excited. Also, big announcement. The return of Kyle is upon us. So
Fantastic.
Kyle's first show back will be Monday, September 1st. As always, buy local, hire local, dine local, volunteer local, donate local, have a good cup of coffee locally at Fully Roasted Coffee, and have great days.
Cheers.